Hi everyone. So this is Mir Office Hours of December 19th, 2025. This time we are not in the same room like last time. Yeah, this is obviously going to be the last one of the year. Let's see what we have in store. And okay, let me just get back to my notes on this. We did say so one of the two topics that I knew to drop on the agenda was Mir 2.19. We didn't have actions from the previous meeting, which was in The Hague. So it was a slightly different one. So let's just take it from the Mir 2.19 release. Alan, can you give us a quick rundown of what made it there?
Oh, that's so long ago. I'm not sure I can. Must be something. Let me just pull up the release notes.
Sure.
So, oh yes. So we've got our first iteration of Atomic KMS, a new graphics platform for us. There's still work to go on that, but it's usable. In fact, I'm using it right now. We've added support for XDG activation, and we've made some changes to our configuration logic so that if we have two modules such as the Atomic KMS and GBM KMS platforms, they can actually share some options. Other than that, there's a bunch of small enhancements and, as usual, a few bug fixes. And I believe that both the Miriway Snap and the Miracle WM for Fedora have updated to 2.19, so it's there in the wild.
Okay. One thing I will add on top of the activation support. So this is post 19, so what we are currently working on, but related is Tarek's been working on focus stealing prevention, which basically tries to avoid you typing into the wrong box. And activation is the thing that allows you to do this in Wayland, because it makes it so that applications have to explicitly request the fact that they will be raised, and they have to be authorized to do so by whoever started them or asked them to raise, so gave them the appropriate token. So that's in progress on top of that. Okay. So I kind of jumped on it, but so what else do we have in progress, I suppose, is the question. Who wants to shout?
Well, another thing that Tarek and I have done some work on is being able to customize the server-side decorations in Mir. We probably won't deliver it before Christmas, but we're on the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I am getting a head start on what we had for planned for next year, which is the ability to have more comprehensive window management policy tests in Mir. I'm specifically thinking of that around Miracle because I always want to test things like outputs getting disconnected and all these different little things with window management that I haven't really been able to test in an integrated way. So that's going to be cool. But there's a lot to do there, so it'll be piece by piece and then eventually exposed to people. So that'll be cool just to easily be able to test where your windows are supposed to be and how they're supposed to behave.
Okay. Yeah, another fun thing that Matt has been doing and I've been breaking was actually getting Cosmic Desktop working on top of Mir. And just as we were starting this, I tried to share from my side. I am running it, but I can't share. But Matt can. So it's, it looks like a Cosmic Desktop, but it actually runs Mir underneath, which is, I think, testament to, on the one hand, what we want Mir to be. So be a all-purpose kind of compositor library, but also what Cosmic have done, and they've built their system in a way that allows us to pick up those components, and provided we actually support the protocol extensions that they need, most things work. Don't they, Mike?
Cool. You want me to show it?
Yeah, show it.
Let's do it. Should see my screen. There we go.
It's live.
What's that?
It's live.
Okay, it's live. Yeah, so this is Cosmic running in on top of Mirrorway, or basically Mirror. Waybar is running up here, but that is just to prove that I have taken the graphical session. So it usually won't be there. I just set that up as a fail-safe. But yeah, the whole top bar works, right? You can open up all their widgets that you have up here. Hopefully I'm not doxing myself with any of this. We have the application launcher. Sorry, if that wakes up, then you could scroll the applications. You know, it's all how you think it would work. We have the dock, so you could search for applications here. Unfortunately, these buttons don't currently work because I believe they're based off of a Cosmic protocol extension, but theoretically, if we implemented that extension, these things would just open and work. Right, we have their settings application. If I go, I don't know, this was kind of cool. If I go into appearance, hopefully this works just perfectly, but you could do all the things where they change between light and dark mode, and you have all your accents and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Does even this work? Forget if this works. Yeah, I guess that part, or I guess that's only in here. So anyway, some things don't work, other things do. But it's mostly good.
Can you maximize an app? One thing I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It's
For me,
cool.
for me, Firefox goes behind the bottom dock. For you, it seems to. Yeah. Well, my dock is on the bottom, but same thing.
Right.
But that's going to be some layer shell things. I think one big interesting piece of this is actually all within a snap, right? It's a classic snap.
Yeah.
So we took Cosmic's debs for the most part and put them in a classic snap, which means that when everything goes to plan and we actually get, there are still some tweaks that we need to do in terms of libraries and kind of what it's trying to load from where. But you should be able to just take it, and when you snap install -- classic it, then it shows up on your GTM, but doesn't actually clutter anything else in your system. And it should work. The same snap should work across different distributions, right? So this is kind of, on the one hand, proving to us that that this approach can work. On the other, just reduces the maintenance burden for us of having such an experimentation thing. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks much.
Yeah.
So just one question that I think should be answered. Will it be available for Christmas?
It's already available to try, but there is still some quirks. So we can. I will drop a link in the notes. But it's a snap today. You can just pick it up from, and I will drop the link here just for kicks, even though nobody else is going to see it. But yeah, you can just get it, snap install -- dangerous it, and you can try it out. Okay. Next, I will talk a little bit about Flutter. So those of you who have seen us on the summit, you will maybe have seen that we actually did something different this time, and we did some Windows coding. So Matt and Harlan in particular, were busy with getting multiple windows working on Flutter on Windows to start with. We are continuing that work, and I'm going to have to apologize, but there's someone at the door. I will be right back.
So, Matt, is there anything you can say about what's going on to fill the gap while he answers the door?
Oh,
He's
he's all
back.
right.
Yeah, I'm back. It is.
Okay,
You know,
I was just
no-
trying to
no
avoid
one
dead
there.
air.
So yeah, good. So as I was like, if you another link that I will drop in the notes is like we ran a session, a workshop on what are we doing for Flutter and why are we doing this, that's the weird part. Doing it on Windows and doing toolkit development, but that's because we know what we would like to see from the applications to tell us that what are your applications, right, and whatnot. So this is that work. I will drop a link in the description. You can find out more. And I actually need to deal with the door. So if Alfred, you added the Ubuntu Touch and Hybris topic, so maybe we can skip to that while I'll sort it out.
Sure, yeah. Of course, yeah. So with Ubuntu Touch, some Ubuntu Touch devices, most of them actually, they use Hybris instead of Mesa drivers in order to provide graphics. And that means EGL, GLES v2, and Vulkan. And what I've done this week is taking a shot at just snapping up Hybris and making it work with the regular GPU 2404 interface. And that is working pretty well, at least for EGL and GLES v2. That works pretty well. So I can demonstrate it right here if the screen is not too bright, to say the least. So what I did was I put the graphics test tools on my Pixel 3a, and something is freezing the device right now. I don't know what it is.
It's live demo time.
Live demo time, as always. So the idea is to provide a Mesa 2404 or at least GPU 2404 compatible content snap for applications to use as their graphics stack. So we do have GLES v2 running with GLMark. Now it starts up. Need to enter the pin. And with the graphics test tools launched from the terminal, for example, GLMark ES2 Wayland, it probably starts up the test and test application, sample application, and it showcases that actually when you look in the deeply into it, you can see that it is loading the drivers from the content snap that has Hybris in there. It's not the only thing that is required to get it to work. You also need a patch snapd, sadly, or at least the one for Ubuntu Touch specifically, so that the rest of the required libraries are actually inside of the /Android and with its /system and /vendor symlinks provided for the snap for the application. But considering those two things to be in place, it works. So that's something that I wanted to report on this time.
Okay, I'll just add a little bit of context to this. The GPU 2404 content interface that you mentioned is a piece of work that's been developed over the years by the MIR team to separate out the graphics stack from the host operating system and the application snap, so that we can actually run applications on different graphic stacks depending on where they are. And this is a great application of it being on a phone.
There we go. Yeah. Also, with Vulkan, there's one particular thing that I still have to figure out. But Vulkan should also work on this device here once this weird bug is fixed where something happens with the environment variables. I don't know. Something clears it. I don't know what would call that, but it's just with Hybris. But once that is fixed and it figures out where to check for the Android's linker library so that it picks the right one for the version of Halium, which is like Android devices plus GNU/Linux running properly. Once those things are together, we can have, or claim at least, full support for at least graphics side of things. The VA API things that I want to figure out. It's also one way to take advantage of this is also to make a VA API plugin for libhybris, and now I have a playground to do so. I don't want to do it in Ubuntu Touch with non-optimized applications. I want to do it with snaps. And this provides a great opportunity to implement that so that we have a VA API working on libhybris devices as well.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few users of this scheme now, at least from the provider side, because both Asahi Linux needs this for the bleeding edge Mesa or beyond bleeding edge Mesa that is needed to support the Apple hardware. But also, as some of you may have seen, we've been working to enable the Qualcomm devices, so like Qualcomm Elite X and whatnot. So again, there's a Mesa 2404 snap and a Mesa Core 22 to support those in previous versions to support this. One unfortunate thing is that snaps needs to opt into this, and only with 24 did we make it so that at least the GNOME extension makes use of it by default. So if you have an application packaged with the GNOME extension, then it will under the hood hook up to this interface, and KDE is soon to follow. But if you're not using any of those extensions, then your app has to explicitly opt into this. We actually do have like a minimal graphics extension that was floating somewhere, but it never got into Snapcraft. But that might also be useful for some apps that don't want or need the GNOME or KDE extensions. But yeah, we'll get things going that way, and yeah, that way, as long as you have an ARM snap build, then it should work on Ubuntu Touch with this, right?
Yes.
Pretty cool. All right. So then I just wanted to mention that we are going to FOSDEM in a month and a bit. So February 1st, 2nd is FOSDEM, and I did get one lightning talk accepted from me, and I'm waiting to see if I will get the time to speak about everything that we're talking about here. So I do have a Mir proposal up into the distributions dev room. But it's not sorted out yet who will actually get to speak. All right, and that's the end of our agenda. So any other business?
I released the I released the latest version of Miracle to 0.4.0. It was like last week or something. And now I'm trying to figure out animations in a better way. I'm trying to like morph Mir to do animations in an interesting way, and I'm running into some interesting problems. I don't know if we want to talk about them here or later, but they're fun.
Go for it.
Yeah. So and I brought this up to Alan briefly. One of the interesting things about Mir is that it's almost like we need two APIs for modifying windows. and hear me out, because one of the modification are suggestions to the window. They're saying, hey, I want you to be this size. You may never be this size. And those will be resolved sometime in the future. You're really setting a future and hoping it gets resolved sometime. The other type of modifications happen immediately. So if you set a transform on a surface, that transform's applied on the very next render, and you'll see it transformed. The problem is the current API makes you feel like those two things would be synced up when they're in fact not. So if I'm setting the size and the transform simultaneously, I was expecting some sort of synchronization, and I was getting weird renders as a result of that. So it's an interest. I have found a very complex way to go about solving that problem, right? Because what happens in Miracle is you resize, I set to the new size, and then I set a transform over time that shows it growing to that size. And I've had to do some interesting things to get around the fact that that size is not necessarily respected, and those things do not happen at the same time. So I know I rambled a lot. It's just as I get deeper with how these things work, I find these weird edge cases where the API is non-obvious from a user's point of view.
Yeah, we've actually known that this is a problem area for some time, but we've had more urgent things to deal with to sort it out.
That's fair.
There's always going to be a limited thing for us to the extent of what could we actually be doing, rather than just giving you surfaces and metadata about them and do with them as you please, right? Because like, we don't want to build a toolkit within Mir that you would use to animate, to do all of that stuff, or at least not an extensive toolkit, right? So in that sense, actually what Ubuntu Touch is doing is to some extent the direction that for such complex things we might need to just go for. There are some smaller things that we do aim to do. Like if we're thinking an old tab switcher, right? You don't necessarily have to take the whole screen over to do an old tab switcher, as long as you get access to or get a way to tell Mir where to render the live previews of the top levels, right? So what's been always kind of going around my mind for this is treating, like, having a similar thing to subsurfaces on the Wayland protocol, like an extension for this, where you could actually say that the subsurfaces are not really subsurfaces, but rather they are supposed to be filled with the contents of Windows. And yes, you will get a limited amount of control over the transforms there and such. There's only going to be some things that you will be able to do. But I think like we have to kind of be pragmatic about it and say, like, this is as far as we want to go before you take over the rendering yourself, and we will just tell you what the Windows stack is, right? And I know this is this is maybe difficult to hear in a sense, because yes, we would like to, but it's also like an impossible task in the long run. Like if you're thinking Compiz, right? Compiz style kind of window management and animations and whatnot, then there's just no point in asking Mir to support this in an API, right? Like that, like rather than just do it kind of way, right? I'm not saying that what you just described is not a problem that we should fix, right? We do have those APIs, and there should be a way to use them. So if there's such a problem, then we should think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever wanted access to like what's happening in Wayland raw. Because Mir builds this abstraction layer over all this. So it is a good thing that this is the first hitch I've hit where I'm like, oh, I wish I knew when this Wayland thing got act, right? This modify window I sent got act or something.
Yeah, hacking is not good enough, actually. You actually need a buffer submitted following the act.
Yes, yeah.
And also, we don't want to have the actual Wayland thing behind it, but an abstraction on top of Wayland, because Wayland is just the front end, right?
Yep. Anyway, those are my problems. They're all solvable, though, if you do enough magic.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on anyone else's mind?
Oh, I think we should just wish everyone a happy holiday season and a good new year. And
that we should. Okay. In that case, thanks, Alfred, for coming up, and good luck with your Mesa stuff or Hybris stuff. If you need help, you know where to find us. So
Sure.
glad it's working. Like that's.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that you were doing this, and then you're coming and saying that it's working, and it's the perfect validation for that's the idea, right? You have your own graphics stack, and it's.
I needed something to claim for myself, saying, yeah, I fixed some issues that I mentioned during the summit, during the map thing. I needed a reason to do it, and now I have it, and now it works. So there we go.
Awesome. All right, thank you all, and yeah, as Alan said, have a very good break, New Year's, and we will see you on the other side. All right, cheers.
Bye.